So good morning, all of you. Yesterday we have seen the introduction to the Excise Act 1944. Today it is about the conditions of the levy of duty on the goods. So we have seen that section 3(1) is the section which is covering the charging section or which imposes the duty on excisable goods. Today let's see the conditions of the levy of duty. So as per the Central Excise Act 1944, conditions of the levy of duty are the duty is on the goods and the goods must be excisable and the goods must be manufactured or produced and such manufacture or production must be in India. So these are the simple conditions which you have to meet when excise duty is levied on the goods. Now the question comes as to what is meant by goods. Section 2D defines the goods. Goods includes any article, material or substance which is capable of being bought and sold for a consideration, and such goods shall be deemed to be marketable. So this goods can be taken to the market and it may be bought and sold for a consideration and it is deemed to be marketable. And when you look at the goods which are produced in the special economic zones in our country, these are excluded excisable goods. What is the definition of the SEZ and all we have seen under the Customs Act? Duty-free zones. In these zones, the goods manufactured or produced are excisable goods, but no duty is leviable. These are excluded. And those goods in the SEZ are not exempted, but excluded only. In the case of excluded excisable goods, the goods are excisable, but it is excluded from the duty. Now let us see the basic ingredients of the goods. There are two basic ingredients, movable and marketable. What is meant by movable? It should come into existence as a result of the manufacture or production, and it should be capable of being moved to market to be bought and sold. So the word manufacture or production is associated with movables. Then the goods must be marketable. And what is meant by these terms, we can explain with the help of the case laws. Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai versus Union of India. It's a case related to a petrol pump of huge storage capacity. And in this case, such a petrol pump was not embedded to earth, but which could not be removed without dismantling was held to be immovable in nature. So this petrol pump of huge storage capacity was actually not embedded or attached to earth. But you could not remove such an item without dismantling. So the court held it to be immovable. Only movable goods are subjected to duty under the Excise Act. And another case is there, Sirpur Paper Mills versus CCE. In this, a machinery was in question. The machinery embedded to a concrete base of the factory, and this had been done to ensure wobble-free operation. And such a machinery was held to be a movable property because it was just attached to a concrete base and it can be removed. So the CBEC has clarified that whatever is attached to earth, unless it is like a tree or building or similar thing, shall not necessarily be regarded as immovable property. So what is the test to understand whether a property is movable or immovable? You just check whether it is attached to the earth like a tree or a building or something similar. You can call it as immovable, and all other goods are movable goods. If the whole purpose behind such attaching to the concrete base is to secure maximum operational efficiency and safety, and no excise duty is levied on immovable property. So we can understand the basic difference between these two decisions. In the first case, it was a petrol pump of huge storage capacity which could not be removed without dismantling. So it is held to be an immovable property. In the case of a machinery which was connected to earth to ensure the wobble-free operation was held to be movable because it is fixed just to secure maximum operational efficiency and safety to the people. That is how these case laws define what is meant by movable. I hope it is clear to you. Then we come to the question of the marketability, the second essential ingredient of the goods. It's also based on the condition in which goods are manufactured or produced. Everything that is sold is not necessarily marketable. This is what you have to understand. Waste and scrap, which can be goods, but dutiable only if manufactured and mentioned in the Tariff Act. So the marketability test requires that the goods as such should be in a position to be taken to market and sold. And if they have to be separated, the test of marketability is not satisfied. And if machinery has to be dismantled before removal, it will not be goods. That is what the definition given under Tribhuwani Engineering versus CGE. So in the earlier case, you have seen that Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai versus Union of India, it was held that if you have to dismantle a particular item which is attached to earth, it is immovable in nature. And under Tribhuwani Engineering versus CC also, same decision is followed. Machinery has to be dismantled before removal. It will not be goods. It is immovable only. The vendability or marketability test. This test includes the following. The goods capable of being sold in the market. The goods capable of being sold ordinarily. It is ordinarily sold in the market, and the goods capable of being sold as such. It is sold in the same condition. So these are the three tests to the marketability. And what is the marketability of article? Marketability denotes the capability of a product of being put into the market for sale. This is a simple meaning. If you can take a goods to the market for sale, you can simply say that it is marketable. And where goods are not marketable, excise duty cannot be charged on them. We have seen the definition of the goods. Goods must be movable and marketable to be included under the excise duty. So marketability is the decisive test for the durability of a product. And the article must be capable of being sold to the consumer without any additional thing, so that you can use it as such. There is no additional thing needed to use it. So the test of marketability will depend on the facts and circumstances of each case. So the general definition only can be given, but whether a particular goods is marketable or not will depend upon each and every situation. It actually is a question of fact which is decided. And there are case laws to define what is meant by marketability. In Union of India versus Indian Aluminium Company Limited, the Supreme Court held that marketability of a product must be for its dutiability. So only if is a goods marketable, that it is dutiable. Mere manufacture or specification of article in tariff is not enough. You have to check whether an item is marketable or not to charge a duty on that. This was the decision under Union of India versus Indian Aluminium Company Limited. There is another case in Bor Industries Limited versus CCE. The Supreme Court held that the mere inclusion of a particular article in the tariff schedule will not render it liable to excise duty. You have to check from each and every situation. The marketability of that article is of primary importance to be dutiable. And prior to the decision given in Bor Industries Limited, it was normal to treat all goods in the tariff schedule as chargeable to duty, regardless of the test of marketability. So the Supreme Court has not given much importance to this term marketability before the decision is given in Bor Industries Limited CCE. So what is meant by marketability is clearly mentioned under this act. And in Union Carbide Limited and versus Union of India and Jeep Industrial Syndicate Limited versus central government, the Supreme Court held that intermediate products which were in a crude form would not constitute goods. And in this case, aluminum cans produced by the extrusion process were not to be goods, as they were neither capable of being sold nor were marketable. So when you are producing an item, the finished product is something, and there can be intermediate products. And these intermediate products, if not capable of being sold or not marketable, it cannot be called goods. So we will come to these two terms, movable and marketability, under the concept of manufacture also. That time, once again, we will explain. Now let us see who are the persons to register under the Act, under the Central Excise Act 1944. So every person who produces, manufactures or carries on trade, holds private storeroom or warehouse, or otherwise uses excisable goods. So anyone who is connected to excisable goods in the way of production, manufacture, carrying on trade, holding a private storeroom or warehouse or otherwise, you can call that person eligible to register under that act. There are certain relaxations. Any person who engages in the manufacture, production, or any process of production or manufacture of any specified products which are finding a place in the first schedule to the Central Excise Tariff Act 1985, or carries on trading activities intending to pass on credit. And certain exemptions are given for registration. It's given to manufacturers producing goods wholly exempted from the duty of excise. And it's based on the value or quantity of the clearances or process of manufacture, or on the ground that raw material has suffered duty of excise subject to conditions specified in the tariff or in the notification. So the registration exemption is based on the value or quantity of the clearances or the process of manufacture, or on the ground that it has already suffered duty of excise, being paying the duty for the raw materials. Just like the Customs Act, we have seen under the Customs Act that once we are paying a duty of imports and again we are exporting it, the duty is reduced. And they have to give a one-time declaration. In the case of a manufacturer claiming benefit of any SSI exemption, the small scale industries exemption, or other exemption based on value or quantity of clearances in a financial year, give a declaration every year when clearances touch rupees 90 lakhs. So based on the quantity of rupees, based on the quantity of the goods, when the clearances are touching rupees 90 lakhs, some exemption is given based on this. And what is the taxable event for the levy of central excise? The levy of central excise is applicable on the manufacture of goods. So this word manufacture is very, very important. Though the taxable event of manufacture happens at a particular point of time, the levy and collection is postponed to the removal of goods from the place of manufacture or factory for administrative convenience and practical compliance. So practically speaking, the taxable event for the levy of the central excise is actually the manufacture. But the stage at which the duty is levied only when the finished products are removed from the factory. This is for practical purposes. So taxable event is manufacture, but the tax is levied on the removal of the item. So these are all things we have to understand as an introduction to the Central Excise Act 1944. With this, I'm winding up. Thank you, everybody.